Ruth Elizabeth Davis was born in Lowell, Massachusetts. On April 5, 1908, Davis demonstrated an unwavering spirit and a fiery determination at an early age, traits that would define her personal and professional lives. Her early years were characterized by a rigid environment and a strong sense of discipline established by her family, which subsequently translated into the extreme attention and dedication she brought to her profession. Davis started pursuing acting in theater after graduating from the Boston School of Fine Arts and the esteemed American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City, setting the stage for her eventual relocation to Hollywood. She was able to refine her abilities, establish a powerful presence, and develop the emotional depth that would become her signature on screen thanks to her early stage work. In the 1930s, Davis made the switch to film, which signaled the start of an innovative career spanning over 50 years. She immediately became a well-known actress, taking a bold approach to parts and defying the studio system's frequent demands for stereotypical depictions of women. Her 1934 performance in Human Bondage astounded both reviewers and viewers by showcasing her willingness to play challenging, perhaps unlikable roles, something that was practically unheard of for actors at the time. Her career was defined by her bravery, which enabled her to play a wide range of parts, including the brutal social climber in All About Eve 1950 and the sorrowful and helpless characters in Jezebel 1938 and, most recently, Voyager 1942. Her reputation as one of the most varied and captivating actors of her generation was cemented by her ability to fully represent both strength and fragility, brutality and compassion. In addition to her exceptional talent, Davis was renowned for her uncompromising independence and will to oppose the studio system that ruled Hollywood at the time. At a period when actors had little power over the studios, she notably fought Warner Brothers over the caliber of the parts she was offered, standing up for artistic integrity. In addition to changing her own career, this resistance opened the door for later generations of performers to take more creative ownership of their work. Davis's impact went beyond her achievements in the workplace. She came to represent tenacity, fortitude, and genuineness, motivating innumerable people in and outside the entertainment sector. Over the course of her career, Davis won multiple accolades, including 2 Academy Awards for Best Actress for Jezebel 1938 and Dangerous 1935, as well as 11 more nominations, demonstrating her enduring brilliance and influence on cinema. In recognition of her lasting influence and the lasting impression she had on American society, she was also given the American Film Institute's Lifetime Achievement Award. Davis's dedication to her art and love for acting never wavered as she worked tirelessly into her older years, making appearances in stage plays, movies, and television shows. One of Hollywood's most iconic actresses, Bette Davis, had a turbulent and dramatic personal life that mirrored the characters she played on screen. She had 4 marriages, each of which represented a distinct stage of her life that was filled with disappointment, sorrow, and love. Her first marriage occurred in 1932 when she married Harmon Nelson, a man whose aspirations and professional trajectory fell short of Davis's own spectacular ascent. Harmon Nelson struggled to establish himself in the entertainment industry and was largely unknown. Even though Bette was starting to establish herself in Hollywood, their relationship became tense and unbalanced due to their different levels of success. Their marriage eventually suffered as a result of Nelson's annoyance at his lack of success and the strain of Bette's demanding profession. Bette's first attempt at marriage ended in 1938 when she and her husband separated, despite their best efforts to keep their union going. This marked the start of a string of personal struggles that would follow her. Career successes. Bette Davis married Arthur Farnsworth, a New England innkeeper, in 1940 after looking for company once more. At first, their union appeared promising, providing a moment's respite from the demands of Hollywood celebrity. But fate was unkind. Farnsworth unfortunately died on August 25, 1943, 2 days after suffering a severe head injury. Bette was devastated on an emotional and mental level by this unexpected and devastating loss. Davis's life was made more sorrowful and tragic by the short duration of this marriage and the suddenness of Farnsworth's passing, proving that her real-world experiences frequently reflected the dramatic intensity of her fictional personas. In the years that followed, her outlook on marriage and love was influenced by the lingering pain from this loss. Bette met William Grant Sherry following this time of personal grief, and the two were married in 1945. She gave birth to Barbara Davis Heyman, her sole biological child. With Sherry, Bette had happiness and a sense of belonging during this phase of her life. However, just like her other marriages, this one was not without its challenges. Bette's hard job continued to take up much of her time, leaving little time for fostering her interpersonal connections. In the end, the stress was too much for Bette and Sherry's marriage, and they separated in 1950. Bette's connection with her daughter Barbara declined dramatically over time. Over time, miscommunications and conflicts grew worse, creating a lasting divide. Bette made the extremely painful decision to disinherit Barbara in the end, which highlighted the conflicts and complexities in her private life. Despite her outward display of poise and authority, Later, in 1950, Bette wed American actor Gary Merrill, who shared her reputation in film industry. Since Merrill was aware of the demands of Hollywood life, their marriage offered the possibility of a more harmonious partnership. In an effort to create a secure and supportive family, Bette and Gary adopted 2 more children, Margot and Michael, in addition to raising Barbara. However, despite their combined efforts and understanding of the sector, the marriage faltered due to both emotional and professional demands. The difficulties of raising a blended family and Bette's ambitious professional goals added to the continuous stress. Bette and Gary ended their 10-year relationship in 1960, closing another chapter in her personal life and continuing a trend of short-lived but profoundly meaningful partnerships that reflected the highs and lows of her remarkable career. The long-running rivalry between Bette Davis and Joan Crawford has been the subject of decades worth of conjecture from both fans and Hollywood insiders. In the history of films, this conflict has practically become legendary. Despite all the rumors, gossip, and dramatizations in films and books, Bette Davis herself had mostly kept quiet about the subject, letting rumors circulate in the public consciousness while she concentrated on her career and her own legacy. But at last, that quiet was broken when Davis decided to talk openly about Crawford, illuminating the conflicts, deceit, and rivalries that had characterized their relationship both on and off screen. With her signature candor, Davis said Joan always had a way of presenting herself as gracious and charming, the kind of woman who could smile while she plotted, the sharpness in her voice unmistakable. However, I never fell for the pretense. I could see straight through her kind words and smiles, and I wasn't scared to point out the games when I saw them. These remarks show a side of Davis that was blatantly honest, providing a window into the inner lives of 2 of Hollywood's most recognizable actors as they negotiate the perilous terrain of stardom, rivalry, and studio politics. Davis continued by talking about the frequent infringement of professional rivalry into intimate spheres, considering the demands made on actresses during Hollywood's heyday. She clarified, "We were both women who wanted to be taken seriously in an industry that didn't always respect us. I had the roles, the honors, and the fire, while Joan had the beauty and the media. She was envious of the attention I got for my performances, and I was envious of her ability to control a room without saying anything at all." Her remarks highlight the nuanced blend of respect, animosity, and rivalry that drove their conflict. It was more than just small-minded jealousy. It was a conflict between 2 strong personalities fighting for dominance, fame, and influence during a time when women had to work much harder to gain attention. Davis's viewpoint reinterprets their conflict as a mirror of larger structural issues in Hollywood, emphasizing not only antagonism between individuals, but also the demands of a field rife with strict standards and public scrutiny. Davis did not hesitate to reveal what she saw as Joan Crawford's manipulative tendencies in social and private contexts, in addition to professional conflicts. According to Davis, Joan was able to win over everyone around her, but frequently that charm was a tactic rather than a sincere show of loyalty or friendship. She described incidents on set where Crawford would deftly disparage co-stars, claim credit for creative moments, or manipulate circumstances to further her own reputation while preserving a polished public persona. Davis's remarks point to a planned intentional tactic on Crawford's side, one intended to preserve her reputation while quietly undermining those of others. It's a startling discovery that gives both fans and historians a glimpse behind the scenes of old Hollywood glitz, where the alliances and smiles were frequently meticulously planned. Despite the harshness of her criticism, Davis's expose went beyond simple censure. It also expressed a feeling of exhausted comprehension. "I was acquainted with Joan," Davis thought. "I knew her ways, and I chose not to be broken by them." Her remarks convey resiliency and wisdom, demonstrating how decades of observation and experience influenced her viewpoint. Instead of displaying resentment, Davis seemed to give a calm explanation, setting the scene for the decisions and actions she saw. By doing this, she reclaimed a story in a tale that has frequently been passed down through rumors and first-hand recollections, making room for her own voice and viewpoint. Her words have endured because of their bravery and honesty, which turned them from a personal complaint into a historical narrative of 2 renowned figures negotiating fame, rivalry, and ambition. In the end, Bette Davis's choice to talk candidly about Joan Crawford represents a notable turning point in Hollywood history. Her remarks shed light on the intricacies of ambition, jealousy, and interpersonal strategy in a field where it was frequently difficult to distinguish between personal and professional life. With sadness and pride in her voice, she remarked, "We were 2 women trying to survive and thrive in a world that demanded perfection and punished any hint of weakness." Davis goes beyond narrating a rivalry in her expose. She puts everything in context, gives it a human face, and makes it timeless, offering an unvarnished glimpse into the truths that lie behind the sparkle and glamour of vintage film. These revelations are more than simply rumors for both fans and historians. They provide witness to Davis's bravery, wisdom, and unshakable dedication to the truth despite one of the most well-known feuds in entertainment history. On October 6, 1989, Bette Davis, one of Hollywood's most recognizable and powerful actresses, died at the age of 81 from breast cancer-related complications. In Neuilly-sur-Seine, a suburb of Paris, France, a place long linked to art, culture, and a sophisticated love of film, she passed away at the famous American hospital, appropriate for a well-known actress like her. At the time, Bette was on her way back from Spain, where she had received recognition for her outstanding contributions to acting at the esteemed Donostia San Sebastian International Film Festival, a celebration of international cinema. Bette's attendance at such a festival, even in the latter days of her life, represented her persistent devotion to her art, her continuing love for film, and her refusal to ever leave the spotlight despite the decades she had spent in Hollywood. Following her death in France, Bette's remains were returned to the U.S., specifically to Hollywood, which for more than 50 years had served as both her professional battlefield and her triumphant stage. In a private family plot, she was buried with her mother Ruth Davis and sister Barbara Bobby Davis, establishing a final resting place that honored her ties to her family as well as the deep personal roots that remained essential to her life. Despite her larger-than-life profession, her quiet side that few saw and her closeness to her family are both reflected in her burial option, a woman whose passion for her public character was matched by her devotion to and love for those closest to her.